Hello guys, and I am going to show you how to generally build pendulums. And honestly, as we can see, the best thing to play is not Odd Ice. It's not, well, Josenju, it needs some testing because it's not really so, how do I say this, more pendulum focused. It's like its own archetype, so it adjusts accordingly. But generally, how to build pendulums right now is interesting. Also not cheap. Of course, this is not just my idea, but I wanted to make a video to help people on understanding pendulums, because I know a lot of Duel Links players are not familiar with this summoning mechanic or even how to build a pendulum deck. Right now, pendulums are suffering with not having much of a game plan, and at the same time, I always knew this was going to be an issue from day one, is that pendulums in Duel Links suffer because of the low amount of cards in the starting hand. This is actually one of the biggest weaknesses that pendulums will have because of their in Duel Links. So, yes. Pendulums will always be a deck that performs better going second just for the starting hand alone. Because it's a very needy hand. Like, you need 2 pendulums to set a scale and then summon 1 or 2 monsters. Although pendulum summoning for 1 would also be not worth it unless you can extend into an additional normal summon. And that's what we're going to talk about later as well. But let's talk about how do I build a deck accordingly for my scales. The general rule is that you should always have an even number of high scales and low scales. If you look at a deck like this, all of the monsters I'm mainly trying to summon are level 4, so my scales can summon level 4 monsters. My low scales I have is 2 here that is scale 3, and 3 here that are scale 2. Then my high scales are 2 scales that are here at 5, and then 3 scale 7 over here. So that's 5 and 5. But it's a bit more because these 2 are dinosaur monsters and I can search them with Fossil Dig. This allows Fossil Dig to get me a missing scale that I don't have. Same goes for Painful Decision. These 2 are normal monsters, and yes, you can search normal pendulum. Yes, pendulum monsters can be normal monsters because pendulum is a subtype like tuner. That's important. Pendulum is a subtype like tuner, not like it's a mismatch of a subtype like tuner, but its own card type like all the extra deck cards. But it's more so a subtype. So yeah, you can search Painful Decision. You can search with Painful Decision, high scale and low scale. Another thing is, if a card can search you a scale, make sure that it can search make sure that the card can search you a low or high scale, because that would be very important. You don't want a search card to be dead just because it won't get you what you're missing. So if you're playing something like Fossil Dig, don't cut out this. Don't cut out this. I know this is not the better one, but don't cut out this, because especially if you're playing Fossil Dig, because you'll have the option to search a high scale in this deck. So that's it. Right now, because Duel Links, if you're not good at making turn 1 boards, if you're more controlling, trying to go in an even game state, something like along those lines, it's tough to keep card advantage, and especially so with pendulums. Pendulum, they gave it the restriction that you can only summon 1 pendulum from the extra deck, meaning you can't soul charge your whole extra deck into the field. So you can only recur 1 at a time, but that's not bad. So right now, the best way is to have it alongside an engine that gives you advantage. And this is where, from Trif Gaming I saw, he went for the best thing that he can, and his gadgets, because all of them on summon will search you monsters. And then you can use Giga Giant X to search even more of them, or more so importantly, recur them from the graveyard, so you can keep searching and keep card advantage. And keep you safe, because it can also search Kite Roid. With pendulums not being a very, they don't want to play so much back row, TTH is the best thing to play with pendulums, honestly. But there are other traps that can work. So the idea is you want a summon that gives you card advantage. Another one that can work is having your playset of Stratos just search into another Stratos. I believe Alistair decks used to do that at one point. So it's the same philosophy here. But there is another interesting build that you can do if you don't have the gadgets. Something that I saw from Luke Tyler is that he was playing Survival's End, and this is an interesting way because if it's not gaining advantage, then how about try to have enough interruptions? And the best thing about this way of playing a Survival's End deck is that your recursion is much better simply because of the Pendulum Summon mechanics. You have Vanillas over here, which is actually pretty nice. So you have 6 normal monsters, which are also your high skills, low skills, to pop them with Survival's End to summon your dinosaurs. And you have dinosaurs right here, which both of them are also actually your beaters, because this one can destroy any non-pendulum at the start of damage step, and this one, if it battles a pendulum, it just gains its attack and defense. Their attack and defense is held. Yeah, it helps their current attack. Basically, this thing can beat over any pendulum that is at least... It will crash if it's 3200 attack currently, which is nice. This can beat almost anything if they're a pendulum. So yeah, those are also your beaters. But yeah, you can pendulum summon them back from your face-up extra deck after popping them. And the good thing about Survival's End is that it can banish itself from the graveyard, meaning you can actually play TTH with this. Ideally though, there's other cards you should be playing. You should be playing things like Baby Ceratosaurus. You should be playing a card like Baby Ceratosaurus. Basically, this is your main target to summon from deck. Then you pop it, and you keep a monster on the field. Another thing you can do is play Unexpected Die, since it can summon your normals from the deck. So it's a good starter in its own as a free monster. You can summon out of die, without your normal summon of course, and all that. And you can go into Synchros. Because the thing is, going into Synchros is much better than Xyz, because the way pendulums work is that if they would be sent from field to graveyard, that is where they end up in the face-up extra deck. Meaning Xyz materials is not on the field, so they'll actually stay in the graveyard. So it ruins your recursion if you go for Xyz monsters. It's better if you can to go for Synchro monsters. And this is where something like Unexpected Die can work with something like this. Usually this can be a much smaller engine. I need to find how to condense this more, but you generally get the idea. You get the idea of this build. I saw this from Luke Tyler, so that's pretty nice. At least with playing gadgets, you can go into your rank 4 and not ruin much momentum, because you are playing non-pendulums that you're ideally using for Xyz summon, and you can push with strong Xyz monster, Tidal Binds, Gaga Samurai, among other stuff. So it's pretty good. So with that, for a basic summary, always have an even number of high scales and low scales in your deck. If you have 5 high scales, you go 5 low scales. Always make it even. If you have search cards, make sure they can search either a high scale or low scale on your pendulums. TTH is almost mandatory as the only good form of interruption you can for this deck. It's like the best, and you can't play many anyway. And make sure you have a way to keep advantage, whether it's to keep searching more cards of your summons or disrupt more like Survival's End. For now, that's all you really have to know how to build your pendulum deck now. At least the pendulums, the good ones that you can use now, are very cheap. You don't have to go to the main box so deep. So I hope you guys try it out. I will soon, but I am focused on making Fish Control and Tech Genus because I'm more of an Xyz guy than a pendulum guy. Though my friend can just immediately build this, so if anything, he can help me to showcase these things more. with that, that's all I have to say for now. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.